productivity. These investments are now becoming increasingly important in the context of sharp increases in fertilizer and fuel prices due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. From there on, we move to EcoBank Transitional First Quarter Financial Statement, where the Pan-African Bank EcoBank Transitional Incorporated (ETI) has released its unaudited financial statement for the first quarter of 2022, which shows some very positive financial indicators. According to a copy of the report, EcoBank's transitional gross earnings increased by 11% to $589.5 million compared to $532.8 million during the comparable period in quarter one of 2021. Similarly, total revenue increased by 7% to $436.1 million. With regards to profits, the ETI's profits before tax during the past 3 months of 2022 rose significantly by 25% comparable period in 2021. In the same vein, profits after tax rose to $92.1 million, indicating a 21% increase when compared to $75.8 million in the first quarter of 2022. The report also showed that deposits from customers during the first 3 months of 2022 remained unchanged at $19.7 billion. Meanwhile, the banking group's total assets dropped by 2% to $27.1 billion. While giving further insight into the banking group's first quarter 2022 financial performance, Chief Executive Officer Adeyemi said these results were achieved in a difficult operating environment characterized by the strengthening of the US dollar against other operating currencies, high inflation, high interest rates, and tight labor markets across Africa as the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues to take its toll. EcoBanks Transitional Incorporated is the parent company of EcoBank Group, which is present in more than 30 African countries including Nigeria, Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Togo, amongst others. Released reports from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the NBS, the cost of liquefied petroleum gas, cooking gas, saw an 83.62% increase from what it was last year. As documented in the NBS report, the average price for refilling a 5 kg gas was 3,778.30 naira in March 2022 from 3,708.58 naira recorded in February 2022, a 1.88% month-on-month increase. The NBS reports titled Liquefied Petroleum Gas Price Watch for March 2022 shows that the average highest price for refilling a 5 kg cylinder of LPG was recorded at 4,200 naira, followed by Niger State with 4,163.33 naira and Imo State at 4,150 naira. Comparatively, Adamawa had the lowest average cost for the refill of a 5 kg cooking gas at 2,604 naira. Yobe and Kano came in at close second and third at 2,740 naira and 3,300 naira respectively. The reports of the Bureau showed that the Southeast had the highest price of refill of 5 kg cooking gas at 3,992 naira, followed by the Southwest with 3,900 naira and South-South at 3,877 naira. However, the Northeast had the lowest average retail price, which stood at 3,419 naira. For 12.5 kg cylinder cooking gas, the average price increased to 7,617 naira in March 2022 from 7,447 naira in February 22. When analyzed by state, Osun had the highest average retail price sitting at 8,782 naira. Coming in close second is Oyo State at 8,400 naira and Katsina at 8,300 naira. Let's meet the 13 Africans who made the 2022 World Economic Forum of the Young Global Leaders list. Each year, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, selects 100 young leaders under the age of 40 that are making a difference and paving the way for action on societal issues the world grapples with every day to develop solutions that can change the world for the better. Well, 13 young African leaders leading by example and tackling the world's most complex challenges with innovative approaches have made it to the 2022 class of the World Economic Forum's 100 Young Global Leaders list. The list features 4 South Africans, 3 Kenyans, 2 Ghanaians, an Algerian, Namibian, and Somalian. Sadly, no Nigerian made the list as members of the WEF 2022 class were chosen from different categories, including the academia, think tank, arts and culture, business, public figure, social entrepreneur, and civil society. While announcing this year's Young Global Leaders list, the promoters said the WEF class of 2022 was gender equal and has representatives from 42 countries, adding that members will participate in a 3-year leadership development program to help them reach their next level of impact. The head of the Forum of the Young Global Leaders, Maria Levine, said the leaders have exceptional ingenuity and vision across their fields, while they represent a sustainable world. Well, we'll look at the dollar security forces in Kenyan banks now. Due to the growing dollar scarcity across Kenya, the Central Bank of Kenya, the CBK, has directed commercial banks in the country to ratio sales to manufacturers, importers, and others in need of the hard currency. According to reporters, the bank have already begun complying with the directive, as confirmed by some currency traders in the East African country. At the moment, there is a daily cap of $50,000 for most businesses looking to buy dollars at the official exchange rates. The reports have it that the dollar shortage was caused by increased demand of the currency as manufacturers intensify shipments of raw materials and equipment following economic recovery in the country, as well as efforts by Kenyan companies to pay dividends to their foreign investors, which have contributed to worsen the dollar crisis. Meanwhile, Kenya's Apex Bank decided to impose a cap on dollar purchases in a bid to protect the country's foreign reserve. Unfortunately, manufacturers are already feeling the impact of the restriction. While commenting on the development, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers said inadequate access to dollars have been negatively affecting their members as they are now unable to settle most of their obligations to foreign suppliers. Unfortunately, the resultant strained relationship between Kenyan manufacturers and the foreign suppliers is happening at a time when there is a fierce competition for raw materials on the global stage due to supply chain constraints. The association went further to explain that the situation has also led to drastic increase in the cost of doing business in Kenya, and the ripple effect of this will be higher prices for essential goods and services, which have already been long-standing problem in Kenya and across the region. We move on now to the NDEA arrest of the billionaire drug baron behind the 3 billion naira tramadol deal. The Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDEA, has announced the arrest of Chief Afam Ukatu, the billionaire drug baron behind the 3 billion naira tramadol deal linked to suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari. This was made known in a statement signed by Femi Babafemi, Director, Media and Advocacy for the NDLEA, which states that the suspect, who is a chairman of Malison Group of Companies, have been a major importer of large consignments of different brands and high dosages of tramadol hydrochloride, ranging from 120 mg, 200 mg, 225 milligram, and 250 milligram, all of which are illicit. Investigations reveal that Ukatu owns pharmaceutical and plastic manufacturing companies which are used as a cover to import illicit drugs into Nigeria, where 197 additional cartons of tramadol 225 milligrams were seized in his warehouse. Meanwhile, Kyari and 4 top members of his team are already facing trial for a different but similar offense at a federal high court in Abuja. Well, now let's look at the federal government's boost in productivity request. The Nigerian Bureau of Public Enterprise, the BPE, has invited investors for the submission of response to requests for qualifications, the RFQ, for the concession of the Calabar and Kano Free Trade Zones. This was stated in a circular by the BPE that the federal government, through the National Council on Privatization, alongside the Ministry of Trade and Investment and the Nigerian Export Processing Zone Authority, are inviting prospective investors to express interest by submitting responses to requests for qualifications to invest and operate and also manage the Calabar and Kano Free Trade Zones as concessionaires. The circular also stated that the objective of the concession is to redevelop and rehabilitate the 2 zones significantly and increase their efficiencies by operating and managing them through professional and efficient management practices as world calls trade zones for a minimum of 25 years. Prospective investors are expected to hand in 5 hard copies of response to the request for qualification and 1 digital copy in PDF to be delivered with the names of the prospective investors boldly written and addressed of the BPE not later than the 25th of May 2022. This comes after success of the Lekki Trade Zone, which now hosts Dangote Group Refinery, Petrochemical Park, and the Lekki Deep Sea Port that has scheduled for completion this year. Now let's look at the federal government's insolvency for 2022. The Corporate Affairs Commission has announced that the federal government of Nigeria, through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, has approved the insolvency regulations for 2022. The Commission disclosed this in a statement signed by Mr. Rashid Mahi, CAC's head media unit in Abuja, that the new regulations fall under the Companies and Allied Act, CAMA 2020, and will go into effect immediately. The Commission added that the regulation of insolvency proceedings under the CAMA includes company voluntary agreements, administration of companies, receivership, managership, winding up by the courts, creditors' voluntary winding up, agreements and compromise, netting and dissolution of the incorporated trustees, adding that the insolvency regulations shall not apply to the rules of court relating to insolvency applications made by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court or any court designed by an act of the National Assembly as being vested with jurisdiction to hear cases arising out of the CAMA. It added that the insolvency regulations go into effect immediately. We move on now to the Lagos State government, which has neared completion for the Blue Line Rail. The Lagos State government, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has said that the Blue Line Rail project is at 90% completion stage and will be running on electric tracks with electric motor vehicles, warning residents to keep off the train lines and ensure they do not walk on it. This was disclosed by Sanwo-Olu while speaking with journalists at the Marina train station after about 3 hours of inspection of the ongoing work on the Blue Line Rail project and stations at the Marina axis of the state. The governor also inspected a new 4-coach train, which according to him is a typical train that would be used on the Blue Line, adding that plans have been concluded to bring additional 2 sets of 4 train coaches from China between September to October. He assured that adequate security will be put in place at every train station and platform with the use